This is called the cerebellum. It's the most important motor fine-tuning. When I say motor, I mean the physical tasks that we perform. So this is constantly getting feedback from the brain telling it what we want to do, and from the body telling it what's actually happening.
So that bit's kind of not conscious, that bit's just like
Pretty
running in the
unconscious.
background.
It's running in the background. And basically the further up you go, the more you're sort of into higher levels of consciousness and awareness and human type capabilities, and particularly in the frontal lobes. A lot of the things that determine our personality and our behaviour come from these parts of the brain.
I'd like you to just take me through the process of death while showing me where it happens.
Generally, the death of a brain will sort of tend to occur top down. So the cortex functions will cease first, and then the more primal, primitive functions. You might have someone in a vegetative state where, to all intents and purposes, you could describe them as dead because they don't have an awareness or a consciousness of their surroundings. But if these basal structures are intact, they'll still tend to breathe and have a pulse and have basic core life-preserving functions. Life in the sense of the organs are still working. Is that life? That's a debatable topic in itself.
It's funny, when I was imagining how this would go, I would have thought that there was this sort of last hideout of consciousness based on I don't know, like its importance to the brain function.
Yeah.
But you seem to be saying it's just more about blood flow and where the blood comes in.
Ultimately it is. Ultimately death is caused by catastrophic loss of blood flow to the brain.
So when people talk about a light at the end of the tunnel, which part of the brain is producing this feeling?
We know from pretty good experience that tunnel vision emerges abruptly when you suddenly lose blood supply to the brain. So the first thing you would notice in fainting is narrowing of the vision, followed by blackness. You could argue that that's the way in which death would progress as well, because the same mechanism is in place, that it's an interruption of blood flow to the brain.